Welcome back, everybody. Uh, just checking out my camera settings here. I just wanted to see if it needed a little bit boost of light, and it does. You never know. Add a little bit too much. Yes. There, that should be good. Hey, Dorothy. How are things going with you? It's a rainy day here, but that's okay. We need some rain. So the last time I worked in the watercolor sketchbook was on the 19th. I don't know. I think last week was either dental or no, it was the internet. That was it. Yes, I got it fixed, so that's good. So we did this the last time, and there's the video for that. And then on the Thursday, we did just playing around in my file folder. This was actually done last week. Like the last weekend. This was for the Blooming Artist lesson. And then we just put a few things together in my book. And this week, hey, Zandra. Nasty gray day here too. Oh, is it? So this week, I always do a illuminated letter for the beginning of the month. So the A for April and January, May. No, that was March. And that was April. Well, we're going to do May now, and I'm going to do it on watercolor paper, and then I will put it into my paper. I'll just take a copy of it. Hey, Lena. And it's Mermaid month. So in honor of Zandra, we got to do a mermaid, right? So I drew up an M for mermaid. There's what we're going to do. So it's a mermaid kind of clinging to some old pillars from a sunken city. But it's the letter M. And I have a copy for tracing out this if you're interested. And it's for all levels. So you just have to join either Patreon or my YouTube, and there's links below for that. And if you just want the traceables, it's only $2.99 a month, and you get all the traceables from when I first started. And if you want to see a little more how I do certain things, painting, journaling, that type of thing, or you just want to help support my channel, then you can also go up 2 other levels. And there's a description on how to do that if you're interested in Patreon. Now's the time, because this is the beginning of the month, and that's when they always put through your payment is in the beginning of the month. So don't go at the end of the month, because you only get those many days till the very end of the month, and then you'll pay again on the 1st. That's how Patreon works. But YouTube is different. It just, your payment goes out the day that you put it in the last time. So it's up to you. Some people like Patreon, some people don't. I personally like Patreon because it's easier to find stuff. Yeah, it's funny. So that's going to be our M for May. Mermaid. I suppose we can put this on here just so it's less distracting for you. Oh, I guess I put it this way. Don't want this in the way. Oh, my camera's a little wonky. There we go. So you can download that and paint along with me, or you can wait. It's up to you. And thinking, what colors do I want to do it? I think I might have even rays coming down. Maybe do the full scene. Would be kind of cool. I think I'm going to tape it down though this time, just so it doesn't curl up too much on me. So how's everybody doing this week? It's not a bad day out here. It's warm actually, like not warm like you guys probably know warm, but it's warmer here, which is good. Daffodils are all out. Magnolia's starting to bloom. As far as I can see, it looks like only one day there's a chance of frost, but it's just a chance. So hopefully that's normal though for this time of year to get a frost in May. All right, so I wet my palette already. And what I've done is I drew this out on a piece of paper and then I put it through my laser print in the manual feed with watercolor paper. And that way it prints down so I don't have to trace it. And also the lines on here are kind of a sepia color, I guess you could say. So I'll leave it up to you what you want to do. You can change it to black and white if you want, or you can lower it and not have it show up as much. Get some brushes out here, probably use some small ones. I think a lot of it's going to be very loose, not real fine detail. So we'll start off, I think I'm going to probably do the background first. I want it fairly loose. So I'm just going to get my brush, wet it, and I'm just going to put water around the areas. I'm not going to worry too much if I get onto her, just because the water reflects light. So this is going to be kind of sunbeams coming through the water. And I want a kind of aqua color. So actually I should clean this palette off because I want a nice clean color, not muddied. So best to always use a clean palette. And I might use some colored pencils on this. As you know, I like incorporating that with my stuff. So let's have some cobalt teal here. And I want it fairly light. And I'm going to put a smidgen of blue in there. And I'm going to also have some green. This is Leaf Green by Da Vinci. And maybe put a little bit of this Windsor green in there. I don't want it too bright. Maybe even phthalo green, a little bit there. I might even just do the phthalo. Let's see. And I'm going to do blue too. So a little bit of French ultramarine blue. I'm just going to put it in here. I don't know if you can see this well enough. Okay. So just wet this again. I want it fairly wet. I don't want sopping wet, but I want it fairly wet. And then you just dab in while it's wet. Remember, it's going to be fairly loose looking. And don't worry if it goes on top of her, because there will be kind of a tinge of that watercolor on her. While it's wet, you can add a little bit of those greens to it. And let it just soak in. Maybe in her hair here. More water. Might be a little darker down here. There's a little fishy there. A little bit more on the blue side underneath here. And you can bring a little bit of that up in here too. Just back in here. Some of this area, a little bit darker. It's just a little more saturated in that bottom area. She'll hurt her back laying like that. she's special. She's like, that's what they do. They cling to stuff. At least that's what I'm saying. She's okay. She's part fish and part eel. Just mixing a little bit of that dark around here. Just darkening it up a little bit. You can always go back to and add more afterwards. After it dries, you'll be able to see where it's going to need a little extra. Is that what she told you? Yep, that's what she told me, Kathleen. Okay, so we can dry that. Okay. Okay. This one here had a little bit of a bloom in it. I'm just going to try and get it up there. Okay, so then the pillars, I think, will be kind of a, well, it's underwater, so it's going to have a blue tinge to it anyways. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is just make it a little bit on the blue side. Just because it'll be taking the water color. You can fix up the edges as you go. Doesn't have to be a lot. And then maybe you can always add moss or all kinds of stuff to it. I have a little starfish sticking to it. Or a dark gray is also nice. So let's do Payne's gray here. Hey, Lisa. Payne's gray and umber, burnt umber. And I'm just gonna make a nice gray. It's more earthy if you do it with that. Maybe dark where the cracks are in the thing. I'm assuming these are marble. So let's get the smaller brush. I'm just want to emphasize the little ridges in the pillar. And underneath the pillar would be darker. Along the side, you could put a little bit of this up just to darken it. And this little sea starfish here would have a little bit of shadow underneath it. That. Can just walk it out so you don't have a hard edge. Be a little darker under her arm here. Shadow. There are by your hand. Then just take a clean brush, just water on it, and walk it out a bit so it's not so hard a line. Take some of that off there. There wouldn't be a big area of shadow, just smaller along there, her hand. That. Just a little bit more on the side here, especially on the bottom while it's wet. There'd be a little bit more. And just up here a little. And then I'll just take a brush and wet beside that area so it bleeds in. So these have been down in the water for a while, so they're not going to be pristine or anything. So you could put moss on them. There'll probably be other little marks and whatnot. And let's do this one. So again, underneath her body, darker. And just lightly touching and letting the paint do its thing. You can always take up stuff before it dries right away, so just remember that. Hey, Devin. Joan, good to see you. Yeah, it's a mermaid hammock. There is a printable for this one for everybody to use. It's in the community page or on the Patreon. You'll find it in Traceables. I'm just emphasizing a little bit more shadow under these little carved areas that would be on the pillar. Just give it a little more dimension. A little bit more under there where her tail shadows that area. A little bit on the side. Just add a few more marks because it wouldn't be pristine looking. So let's dirty it up a little bit. Okay, so we'll let that dry a little. Now with a, let's see, a scrubber, find a stiff, fairly stiff brush if you have one. There's one. And I'm going to remove some rays here. So the sun will be shining through the water. So you just take a clean brush and clear water and just tap off. Now you have to have watercolor paper when you're doing this. Very difficult without. Can't really do it with sketchbook paper. Shine through like this. So make sure you get follow the lines down. So this one comes down like that. This one here goes down like this. Okay. And And this one would come down here. That one like this. And this actually, well, would be partly on the show up on the body too. Not necessarily on this because you're only seeing it's only shining on the top part essentially. Let's put in some let's put in some sander. It's just clean water. I think I'm just going to go down in a semicircle on the bottom here. And I'm going to use that gray color, but really maybe even try and lift some of that green so it's not as much of a line. Just put a little bit in here. You can mix in the green. Just a bit. Darker. All right, so let's dry this. Yeah, I'll zoom in. All right. Now, what color should we do her? Let me think. Kind of the orangey color. Any suggestions? She'll have a kind of a blue tinge to her, so the color should have a little bit of a cooler side to it. So could go quin red, or we could keep it greens. Coral? Well, that'd be a cool color. Do I have coral? I know I have a coral somewhere. Let me check. I know I got coral somewhere. What's this one? Pyro red. All Potter's pink. What's this one? This one looks like a coral. Pyro orange. And carmine. Naples yellow. Where are you? I know I have one. Carmine. Rose. English red. It's probably one that's got a weird under color to it. Quinn rose. That's purple. Blue. What's this one? Cobalt violet. Red. Oh, here it is. Found it. The beautiful coral from Daniel Smith. All right. Coral would look pretty. I love coral. Let's wet this. It's a gorgeous color. Mix a really nice purple with it too, or yellow. Have you ever seen those fish that are two colors? They're usually yellow and like this coral color, or purpley color. So let's think. Do we want her two-toned? We could do a bit of yellow on her skin. Let's get a piece of test this out. This is the coral color. And we mix Indian yellow with it. Might be kind of cool. That's cool. Let's do her in that. Okay, so Indian yellow by Core. Are you painting along, Lena? She probably is. I'm going to actually just wet. I'm going to do her body and face in this yellow. My water's got some yellow in it already, but that's fine. She's got hair coming over her arm and body. You could make her hair a different color too. And I'll take it into the tail bottom part here slightly. And then her face. And then I'm going to wet her tail. Even though it's got, my water's kind of yellow right now, so that's fine. And then take that color. I'm just going to let it bleed. Into that top part. With that. I haven't decided if I want the fin part the same or different. Now I'll emphasize a little bit more of this stronger color into the body. So it'd be a little darker in the shadowed areas. So you could put that in there. Under her chin would be darker. Anywhere where there's hair, probably be a little darker. Back of her arm, underneath here where her hand is would be darker. And I'm going to put somewhere her eye is. And on her nose, underneath her nose. And take your smaller brush when you're doing smaller details, clean or relatively clean, and then just walk it out a little bit. So it's not so definite. You can always use colored pencils on this too. So don't worry if it looks a little bit dark. We can lighten it with a colored pencil. See how it blends out? That's so pretty. When it's wet, take some of your stronger, put it on the bottom part here, and just a few dabs where those scales are. You don't have to do every single scale. Sometimes it looks nicer if you leave just do a few and just leave it for the viewer to figure out. So, sorry guys. It's probably loud for you. Be a little bit darker up here. Just because her body would probably be shadowing some of this. I'm going to take some of it up on the back part where her arm is there, underneath her arm. It's more or less you're mixing those two colors to make the shadow color. Bye, Devin. Have a good day. So I'm painting on wet areas when I'm doing this. So it's blending into it on its own. A little bit more under her chin. That. You could figure out which part of the hair is, might have a little bit more shadowed areas down in here. You could do that. A bit more in here. Just to darken that up a little. Bit of a bloom starting here. You could just pick some of that up if you want. And then let's dry that. See what we get. All right, so let's put their fins in. I'm thinking that it might kind of look nice with probably the yellow. What do you guys think? Maybe with a little bit of veining in it. That's the dark. So we could do it like pretty much all the top part, and then we'll just put a little bit along the edge just dot a little bit. See what it does. I'm just wetting this bigger area just so it's a little easier. And then the color. You can always come in with colored pencils too and make more detail to it. That's always fun. I like doing that. And just a little bit of pink. Just along the edge. Let it soak in. Let it do its thing. They won't be, those lines won't be hard because it's wet. Hey, Dabbler, Tori. So glad you're better, Tori. Must have been a scary situation for you. A little bit more. This color in here where the hair is kind of overlapping her shoulder might be a little bit of a shadowed area there. The back of her arm. Just adding a little bit more. A little more on her eye there. Okay, so I'm going to give that a dry. Hey, Sherry. All right. Then we have little fishies. I think I'm going to do those guys in blue. Some of these fish are like neon blue colors. So I got a bright blue here. I'm just going to put those in. And where's the other ones? There's one there. And you can make yours whatever. You can make them into little striped ones if you want. What was it, Nemo? So I'm just coloring in the whole thing. And then I'll put the marks on for, there's another one there. This one's kind of hiding. And then there's seaweed. And I'm going to use that bright green color, the Da Vinci. You could put them elsewhere too. Doesn't have to be just that one. You could put more in if you want. In her hair, what color hair should we do? Should her hair be the pink or should it be a totally different color? What do you think? Any suggestions? I'll just wet some of these. Pink or purple? I think we'll do the pink. So I'll use the same coral, but light. And we'll use colored pencils to put the shine in it and darken some areas. So this basically will be all pink, one coat of this lighter shade of pink. And then I'll go in with light and darks. So you kind of have to figure out where it stops and ends. Okay, I have one down there. Darken a little bit in here so I can see where it is. All right, so just a little bit, and let's dry that. Thanks, Tori. All right, so now I think I'm going to put a little bit more texture on there. So I'm taking that color that we made for the pillars, and I'm just going to take the whole part of my brush and skim across, more or less a dry brush, the area. And it'll leave this dry brushed effect that will pick up the pattern of your paper. And we've got to put the little starfish in too. I think I will put him, they're usually red, aren't they? I think so. I'm going to put him in red. I've never seen one before, but I seem to remember them in pictures. They were red. Could be wrong, but we can make them whatever we want. That's the nice thing about having your own journal. Okay. Now, let's see. Okay, so she could probably have a little bit more color underneath her. Now, we could either use colored pencils or more paint. I'm going to use a little bit more paint, see how that comes out. And I want it right under here. Just bring it out. Like that. And a little bit of that Indian yellow too. I'm just gonna put a few lines in here and there. Maybe darker under there. And underneath her arm. Soften the edges. It's just a damp brush. All right. So we'll dry that and we'll get our colored pencils out. Thanks, Sandra. Okay, one thing I have to do is wherever I had this shine, I want to take some of that off because I want to have it so that it looks like it's shining on her too. So right in here. And a little bit there maybe. If you have a, what are they called? Magic eraser, they work really great. Too much there. I'll have to fix that. Okay. Here. Make sure you get a clean part of your towel. All right, let's fix that up now. A bit of aqua on there. All right. Now, I've got Prismacolor pencils. And I think I'm going to start off with her hair. So I want a fairly close color. So I'm just going to, that's not bad. It's a little bit on the pinky side. Let's see what this one is. That one's pretty close too. Okay, so we got, I'll use this one. This one is Carmine Red. So I'm just going to go in on her and figure out where the shadows would be. So it's easier if you start from the back and work your way in. So find out where you're seeing most of a strand, a big shape. They're not all done separate, like separate hairs. It's in groupings. So wherever there's one crossing over another, there'll be a little bit of a shadow underneath that area. So you kind of, and you only want to do the part, you don't want to do the top of it, only the underneath part. So here's kind of twirls around here. And when there's just a little area that's kind of crossed over each other, I just do those as shadows. So like little small areas that are, looks like it's in between. Tucked in. kind of. But I'm usually just doing the underside of it. Because that's where the shadow would be. Now, you would have some areas that would be deeper underneath her hair, like that you would see shadows or whatever. You can put those in. You can add a few lines. Just play with it. I'll make this dark. Underneath. Some of them are twirling, so you'll see shadows on one side and not on the other, like a ribbon would be twirling. Let's see there. This is one that you kind of have to practice a little bit, because you can get lost in all of those little shapes. They wouldn't be lying flat, they would be curving, and so they would have a little bit more shadow. I'll have to do a video or a stream on ribbons. That would help with how hair is, I think. There is a way of looking at it. Darker in there. I'm going to make this dark in here a little bit. You got to think of the shape of their heads too, like how's the shape of how the hair is falling. Is it curved? So if it's curved, you're going to have shadowed areas also. So you kind of have to think about those things. And her hair is very messy, so be going this way and every way, basically. You can put strays in. Okay, so we've got that one. So then you want to take, could take a white or a very light pink. There's a really, really light pink. Let's see if it's, no, it's not light enough. So let's go white. So now I want to highlight some of those areas that the sunlight would be. You might have to get your Posca out. It doesn't have to be, it could be just the centers of some of them. Wherever you think the sunlight would be hitting it. Like that. Now we can take the same thing, make sure there's no pink on your white, and then you can highlight, well, her nose would be lighter, forehead would be lighter, chin, and her cheekbone. It's not showing a lot, but a little bit. We can also add some dark color to it. So let's put top of her chest here would be lighter, so we'll add a little bit of white in there. Her neck, wherever her arm would have a little bit, you know, just one part of her neck there. Her stomach, well, wherever the shine is shining on her, put that there. But it would have a little bit, she's on kind of a tilt. So to have a little bit of shine on her, because she's wet, the shape of that body part, because she's tilting to this side, it'll be up here, not in the center. And we can add a really bright white with Posca. The same down here in the center, maybe in this one. And because I'm using a paper that's got a texture to it, kind of looks like scales. So that's a bonus. Didn't have to even work on that one. Okay, so I'm going to keep that out. I could actually, let's see, put a little bit of on the tail and fins. Just a bit, not a lot though, just a bit to show that it's kind of see-through. Might see a little bit of on the ends here. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to take probably try to get as close to an Indian yellow as I can find here. If not, let's see. Nope. That might work though. Let's see. Yeah, maybe this one. Can't have it exactly the color of the Indian yellow. So now I can just go in here and shadow a little bit more where the eye would be. And maybe under the chin area a little bit. In here, along the and just wherever there's a little bit of hair, might have a little bit of a shadow under those pieces. Not much, but there would be a little bit. And you could actually put a little bit of this in here too. Not a lot, but I would put a little bit. Get a little bit texture. And I'm gonna darken this just a little bit more with this color instead of the red. Just gives it a little bit more dark. Right. And under the nose. It's not much of a expression on her face, but I'm going to give her a little bit of cheekbone. By just underneath that cheekbone, you just put a little bit of shadow, very, very small amount, kind of in a C shape, sideways or upside down. And then you can take your white and just blend it in a little bit. Soften it up. Let me give her a little bit more eye there. All right. Then let's see, what else can we do with this? I think we could shadow some of this area down here with a gray underneath the tail fin. Just so that it's more noticeable. Maybe around here too. Might have a little bit of a shadow, wider shadow. Same with this here, where the plants are. And because it's shining down here, this would probably have some kind of a shadow on the ground here of her body. Because it would be stopped, the rays would stop it from being noticeable. Now, you can always go over it. If you see how the texture shows up, you could always go over that with paint. And it hides that up a little bit. So just kind of match up your color that you have. Just walk it out a little bit so it's not a definite line. Don't want it too harsh. Like that. And under her arm needs to have some shadow too. So right in here. And right in here where her hair is, I think that could be darker too. So I'm going to put some of that in. So it would be dark because of all that hair shadowing everything. And in here, under her body. You just go back and forth with your colored pencils and play with it. It's basically all I do is see what needs more contrast, or that's the key is to get the proper amount of contrast. That's what makes a painting work. Down there a little bit. Just I think that's good. A little fishy here, starfish. Okay, now let's get a marker or a pen. Let's see. I have a small, fine pen somewhere. And jelly roll even will work. Maybe not. I think that's going to soak up the color too much. So let's try a pasta. I have a fine one here. Thanks, Sandra. Okay, and then you can just put some lines in here where the brightest part of the shine would be. I'm going to put a little bit on her hair too, just in little spots, not a whole lot. But where I think it would be the most noticeable as far as the rays hitting it. It wouldn't be all over the place. Right there. Now you can put more or less in as far as the little what are they called? Scales. If you want to put little highlights in here and there, don't do the whole thing, but just a few will just give it that little bit of shine look to it. Maybe a few on her belly. You can follow the lines that I gave you, or make your own. And then you can also, if you want, go back in with dark. Let's see, I wonder if this will work. And do the shadow also, just underneath those lines. It'll just emphasize that white. Just add a few more. Wherever I had them, I can't see mine anymore, so I'm just kind of making mine up. Here. Okay. And the little fishies, they need some little eyeballs. And I think I'm going to put dots on this starfish. Like that. Put a little dab on just on the little edge. Sometimes they have little barbs on their tails. Same with here. In the fin area. You just play with it till you've got enough detail or highlight till you figure out what you want. Any minute now, something will bite her on the bum. Dot. Oh, you're funny. Could be. Never know. Never know what's under there. I could go actually even darker in some of those areas, depending on how much you want as far as the purple. Dark and light. Like I said, you can go crazy in this part, depending on how detailed you want it. All right, maybe even a little bit on her right in here. Just a little bit darker. There. That's purple I'm using. Just, it's great for shadows. All right, I think it's done. Anything else you see I should do or suggest? Let me know. Could do a little bit on that green. And yellow. The coral tail is so beautiful. Thanks, Lena. Yeah, I think she turned out pretty good. Simple. A little shine on the fishies. All right. So there's just a, pretty sure you guys can do that. It's already drawn for you. So get it downloaded and then give it a try. I think you'll be surprised how easy it is. Try it on watercolor paper, or if you don't have watercolor, then just do colored pencil or marker. Thanks, Joan. All right. So give this a try, and we'll see you on Thursday. And I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing. Got any suggestions? Oh, wait a minute. I have to, yes, I remember. I have those faces that we're going to put bodies to. Maybe we'll make a bunch of mermaids. That would be fun. We'll add bodies to those faces. That would be fun. Awesome, Dot. So you guys have a fantastic day. Get your journal out, do some drawing, painting, whatever. Just get some creative fun. Thanks, Lena. And we'll talk to you on Thursday. Have a good one, everyone. Bye for now.